So this is a statement by Chekhov, who was a wonderful writer way back when. And he said, perhaps the feeling that we experience when we are in love represent a normal state. How many in here are in love right now? Excellent. So do you notice something that's really wonderful about that? It's like being on morphine or something, isn't it, or heroin? But it's natural. And the nice thing about it is, oh, look how cute they are. The nice thing about it is that natural high really hits the same receptors that morphine or heroin does. They're called the mu receptors in the brain. So we can get it naturally. So it's really an art. So being in love shows a person who she or he should be. Why not feel that way all the time? It's possible. I'm working at it. Some people just naturally have it. I have to work at it, but I do a pretty good job. And look at that baby. Isn't that beautiful? Doing what kids love to do. Move. So what is detoxification? So part of our issue as we live in this world is, how do we get energy? How do we move? And it's a process biochemically of creating something called ATP. Anyone know what that is? Any chemists in here? Yeah. And by doing that, we are in the same process creating toxins for ourselves and free radicals, which is not all bad news, because the free radicals in the positive are used to stimulate our lymphocytes, which are white blood cells that can attack. And they can attack all the toxins and all of the problems that are coming into us. So everything has a good part and a negative part. So the question is not whether or not you are toxic. The question is how well your system detoxifies. So the point that I'm making is it's natural to have toxins inside of us because we produce them. But one of the issues that we're going on now is that many of the toxins that are abundant in our environment today did not even exist 30 years ago. So we're dealing with a lot more toxins in our system. Plus we're living a lot longer, so we don't have that youth to carry that positive energy that we have with us. So we're being bombarded in two ways, by growing older, getting older, and at the same time, we're going to see how much toxins we actually take into our body every day. How bad is it? 80 billion pounds of toxins are released worldwide every year, and a microgram dose of many of these can impact human health. A microgram, that means this little teeny bit. Neurotoxins were found in 33% of a random sampling of drinking water. You can see here on this picture, if you can catch it, you see all this kind of junky stuff that's filtering off into clean river source. So what is this stuff? Insecticides. How do we keep that down? We use things that kill them. Well, they end up in our system too. So we have an ever-increasing toxic load on our body. Pesticides, herbicides, those are things to keep plants from being eaten. Chemical solvents, xenobiotics, and those are chemicals found in the body that are foreign to it. So we find a lot of stuff inside of us that was not produced what we call endogenously. We didn't produce that stuff. It's coming in from the outside. There's all kinds of chemicals that we find inside of us. Attack us through our food, water, and air supply. And then I mentioned in the beginning when I started, internal toxins from our own metabolism add to this burden. We also have burdens from all of the intestinal microbial ecology, meaning that as we get older, we get sick, things happen to us, we pick up different types of viral things in our system, different types of microbes, bacteria, parasites. Anyone go down to Mexico and get sick? I have. That's something that can stay with you for a lifetime. So there's a tremendous burden on the liver. Anyone ever hear that the liver is sort of like the car filter? That's our thing that works to really help clean things out. So these chemicals have a potential to produce excessive oxidative stress in the body, leading over time to chronic disease. The results. How many here have fatigue? Lethargy. You just want to just kind of lay around, not do anything. Headaches. Multiple chemical sensitivities. What does that mean? Anyone know? Anyone here smell perfume? You go into a doctor's office, everything's nice and clean, and then someone walks in with perfume. And you just want to stick them right in the shower, don't you? Some people get headaches from that. Some people get all kinds of things. They can get a sore throat. They can feel fatigued. So it's very common to have multiple sensitivities to different chemicals. It can erupt in skin disorders, chronic fatigue. So one of the big things are heavy metals. You've heard of that. Anyone here have their amalgams taken out of their teeth, the silver fillings? A lot of people here have done it. I've done it. When we check a 24-hour urine, we always find in our population high mercury levels, usually a lot of arsenic and other things. We know that this is very toxic to the brain because it sets up electrochemical fields. Copper, cadmium, and then we have things like chloroform. Isn't that used to kill? Yeah. And solvents, the things that are used in all kinds of factories. So things like smoke, agricultural treatments, pesticides, fertilizers are all environmental problems. And then the petrochemicals, which are also solvents, fine and industrial chemicals. All that stuff is getting into our system. It is blowing out of the stacks. Anyone ever driven through the countryside in Indiana, South Chicago, places like that? The black soot is going all over the place. Like I said, it's in our air, it's in our food, it's in our water. And what about pharmaceutical drugs? What does that do to us? How many in here take pharmaceutical drugs? Okay, almost everyone. How about over-the-counter drugs? How about Tylenol, aspirin? A lot of people. Yeah. What does that stuff do? It's poisons. I know it's necessary. I'm not saying not to do it. But at the same time, there's always side effects. If anyone looked into PDR, has anyone looked into PDR? Any kind of medication? There's pages of side effects. It's like, does anyone ever had back surgery? Anyone want back surgery? If you ever went to one and saw it, you'd never get one done. It creates so much damage. So the liver is put on all kinds of toxic load just by medicines that we take. Even the simple ones like anti-inflammatory medications. Terrible for our liver and for our kidneys. It stores up over time. Look what happened to this poor lady. And that's just from drinking coffee. So, food additives, the things that color and flavor our foods, preservatives, damaged fats. And just about any old fat is a damaged fat. If you have things in your storage and it's been there for a while, it's probably already oxidized and not good for you. Hydrogenated oils, smoke, pollutants, even perfumes, I mentioned that. Silver, it's not really silver, but it's the mercury in the dental fillings. So what are people doing? They're having their amalgams taken out and putting something else in that does worse damage sometimes. You have to be very careful. That's what is put back in is non-toxic. Total toxic exposure. Look at all these things that it's coming from. Physical injury, inflammation, excessive exercise. Anyone ever think exercise can be excessive? Some of my most difficult patients are the ones who exercise too much for their system. Nutritional problems, excess food. None of us do that, do we? We're not bingers. We're just happy all the time. We just eat the right things. Additives to the food, alcohol, that's a huge one. How many people have to have their wine because it's good for their heart? There we go. A lot of people that drink wine because it's good for your heart, isn't it? My question is, why would you drink a poison that has some good stuff in it to get something you can take without the poison?
Such as?
Well, you can take resveratrol, which is in red grapes. It's just a little pill. It's the big hit on the internet now. And it does resveratrol. Yeah. And you can take that in a little pill. I'm going to hold back right now with feedback until we get done. Then you can ask questions. And you have paper. That's great, so you can write this down. So I'd say stay away from the alcohol if you can help it. I know it's relaxing, but there's some nice things called meditation and yoga and other things you can do to get your relaxation. One of my favorites is taking a really hot bath. So I sweat with Epsom salt. Epsom salt is, what is it? It's just magnesium. What does magnesium do? It relaxes